All right, guys, you're probably here because you haven't had the most productive summer and you're feeling a little bit stuck. Maybe it's not summer, it's another time of the year, but you're not really sure what to do to get out of this rut that you're in. We're gonna talk about that in this video, and if you follow these 4 steps, you're gonna be able to have a productive finish to whatever season you're in, and you'll have the tools to stay productive through the rest of the year. Hey, my name is Michael Thompson. I'm a youth pastor and a student, and on this channel we discuss personal and professional development from a Christian perspective. And I've had unproductive summers. I've gotten really frustrated in the summer before because like in the fall, I'd be really productive, in the spring, I'd be really productive, and then the summer just presents new challenges. So here's a couple things that have helped me a lot. The first thing that you can do to have a great rest of summer is set goals. Now, goals are helpful because whenever you say, in 2 months, I want to have this accomplished, then that helps you prioritize what you need to today, tomorrow, and the next week, right? And whenever you set a goal, if you say, I want to read 2 books by the end of the summer. Well, then you can put a date halfway in between the end of the summer and today and say 1 book needs to be done. So that goal is helping you do something today that's aligned with a future thing that you want to have accomplished. When you're setting goals, make sure they're realistic. And something else that's really helped me set goals is by setting SMART goals. So there's gonna be a video that's gonna pop up, you can click it, and I did another video on SMART goals: specific, measurable, actionable, relevant, and time-bound. Watch that video if you wanna know more about it. But basically, the SMART goals just helps you actually write down something that you can actually accomplish, rather than saying, I just want to read more, how many pages and how long. So click that video, watch that video. That's going to teach you how to set SMART goals. All right, the second thing is structure your week. Now, one of the best ways that you can waste your summer is to not have any plans. And then so Sunday night comes around and you keep scrolling, keep watching movies because you don't know what time your day starts on Monday. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure that when you are going into Sunday night, you know Monday starts at this time, and here's what I'm gonna have accomplished in the morning. That way you actually have a plan for what's gonna happen during the week. But you don't wanna overdo it. There's been times where I said I wanted to have 50 things accomplished in a week, and whenever I try to get 50 things accomplished, I end up really beating myself up because I'm trying to do too much. So you wanna pace yourself, okay? You can't stay in 5th gear all summer long, but something that's really helped me is thinking about my week as start fast, finish slow. So on Monday morning, I'm gonna really try to get my most difficult tasks done and then have lunch. And then in the afternoon, do more of for me, in my job, it's people-oriented things in the afternoon. So those aren't as demanding as reading and writing. I do the reading and writing in the morning and then people things in the afternoon. And in my mind, I'm trying to get my week finished before Friday. And something that I notice is there's always an opportunity that pops up that pushes things to later in the week. But when I try to start fast and finish slow, that's a great method that just kind of keeps me on the right track. So make sure that you don't try to do too much, but you also want to have, when the week gets started, you want to have a pattern. And something that I've used is called a weekly ideal template or an ideal week template. And this is where you say, I'm going to create a repeating event on Monday morning, 8 to 9 o'clock, and it's going to be my read for an hour, whatever it is for you. Whenever you have those weekly repeating events, if you have an appointment that gets scheduled, you can just drag and drop in the calendar and make it all fit. But whenever you have that weekly template, it helps me because if I don't necessarily have to have a certain project on Monday morning completed, I can still know generally, okay, I'm going to be reading because I want to be reading this much of the week, and I want to be writing this much of the week, and hanging out with people this much of the week. So have that weekly template. I use a calendar called Fantastical. You can do this on Google Calendar as well, but you just create time blocks and make it a repeating event so that you know on Sunday afternoon, these are the kind of things I want to do next week. And what's really cool when you do that is over time, you'll be able to realize, Friday afternoon comes and I'm not worth much at all on Friday afternoon because I'm just thinking about what I'm going to be doing with my family. And so then don't put the most important thing that you need to do that week on Friday afternoon. So keep doing these ideal week plans. And another thing that's helped me is after I go through the day, I adjust what I thought was going to happen with what actually happened. So then I do these, I call them weekly audits, and I go back and I look at how did I actually stick to my plan. And this helps me a lot because Then moving forward, when I'm planning other weeks and I'm really busy, I know the best times of the week to be working on the best types of projects. So experiment, everybody's different, but you really want to make sure that when you head into the week, you have a plan, and it's helpful to have a template, because then if you don't have a specific project that you need to be doing, you can create one and put it into the template. All right, so other than setting goals and planning your week, the third area that has really helped me in the summer is being in the gym. Now, you may be somebody who you have a consistent gym routine, but maybe recently you haven't pushed yourself to do something new. So you're kind of just going through the motions. Maybe you're somebody who's really afraid to go to the gym because you're worried about like a lot of people judging you, and the gym can be intimidating. So here's just a couple things to think about when you're going to the gym. The first thing is some people, you get really nervous because you feel like everybody's going to be looking at you. But I just want to encourage you, when you're at the gym, the people who are there all the time, they're worried about them. They're not worried about you. And sometimes it can be kind of intimidating to go in there because you don't necessarily know what you're doing. So just a little bit of advice, go on YouTube and get you a workout plan that has the sets and the reps of the different exercises, and then go into the gym knowing what you're going to accomplish. And just remember, when you're working out, don't worry about what other people are doing. The people who have expressed hesitancy going to the gym before, when they were talking to me, they were just like, I feel like everybody's looking at me, and it just makes me really nervous. But I've been in a lot of gyms, and honestly, nobody really cares what other people are doing. They're just worried about themselves. So have a plan when you go in the gym. It can help to have a friend, but the only potential issue with having a friend is if you have to have a workout partner to work out, there's going to be times where your workout partner is not available, or if you go in the morning, they don't wake up on time. And if your working out is dependent on having a partner, there's going to be a day where you don't have a partner. So that's just something to remember. But if you're in the gym, switch it up. If you're not in the gym, get a gym membership. Or it's not necessarily all about lifting weights and putting muscle on. You can go for walks and be active. But being active, and I've worded it as get in the gym, but move your body this summer and set some goals, accomplish some things, and that's going to help you continue to move in the right direction. Also, change it up. If you're somebody who's worked out a lot, you know that your body gets really set in its ways, and then after a while, you're not really gaining any more muscle, and you're not pushing yourself, and you're not really developing more discipline because you're just kind of going through the motions. So a couple ways you could switch things up. Go to a different time. There's been different times in my life where I went really early in the morning, and then others where I went later on in the afternoon. Whatever works for you, but it can help to switch things up by switching the time that you're going. And then just one last thing on being active, discipline carries. So one thing that I've noticed is people who consistently push themselves in fitness, whether it's the gym or running or whatever it is, I noticed that they're much more disciplined in the other areas of life. So remember that when you're in the gym, you're not just growing yourself physically, you're also growing your brain's decision to do things that are hard. And when it comes to having a great rest of the summer and being productive, that's going to be pivotal. So get in the gym, get healthy, get moving. That's number 3. The fourth way to finish strong this summer is get in church. You say, why are you bringing up spiritual stuff when it comes to having a productive summer? Because guys, at the end of the day, you can be the most productive person in the world. You can read the most books. You can be the smartest ever. But what you do for eternity matters so much more than what you do on this earth. And one thing that I've noticed is that in the summer, you can kind of lose community. But if you're involved in a church that does things and they have different small groups and you go to Sunday morning service, you're able to meet people and maintain a solid community throughout the summer instead of getting really lonely. Because I've gotten pretty lonely in the summer before, and it's not fun. So go to church, make sure that you're in a place where you can be encouraged by other people. And then, another thing, the Bible teaches that in Ephesians 4, God gives gifts, which are people, and he gives spiritual gifts, and that's mentioned in Romans 12 and 1 Corinthians 12, that we are to use our gifts to encourage other people. There's exhort is one of the Bible words, but we're supposed to edify, build up, encourage other people with our gifts. And when you go to church, that's something that other people do, and they encourage you with their gifts. So be in church. That's a huge part of having a productive summer where you don't get lonely, you don't get off on an island. And also, some more benefits of church is that when you're in a church, you'll be around other people who you can learn from. You may have strengths in one area of life, but you may be weak in relationships, or you may be really strong in relationships and weak in reading and learning. When you get into a church, you're going to be able to meet other people who have different strengths that can encourage you. And at the end of the day, the things you do eternally matter so much more than things you do here on this earth. And You know, a relationship with Jesus is the beginning of being a Christian. And so if you haven't done that before, we talk on this channel occasionally about how, you know, that's what life's all about. And Jesus came, he lived a perfect life. He died on the cross and he rose again. He took the place for your sin and for my sin so that we can have a relationship with him and we can spend eternity in heaven when we pass away, when we die. And that's the beginning of the Christian walk. And again, these are all things that you'll learn in church. Make sure you're in church, because if you're not in church, then it's so much easier to get off on an island and live a purposeless life. Guys, I hope these 4 areas were helpful. They've transformed my summers, and now there's still times where I feel unproductive, but overall, these 4 areas have really transformed the way that I enter the summer, the way that I exit the summer. And it doesn't mean that I am perfect in all the areas, but it's made a big difference in my life, and I hope it can make a difference in yours as well. So if this video's been helpful and you want to grow a little bit more, maybe learn about goals, go watch this video, and we'll see you in the next one.